1.4, rewrite formulas and equations. Vocabulary. Formula. Formula is an equation that relates two or more quantities. To solve for a variable means to rewrite an equation as an equivalent equation in which the variable is on one side but not the other. Okay, example 1. Rewrite a formula with two variables. Solve the formula C equals 2 pi r for r. Then find the radius of a circle with circumference of 26 meters. Step 1. Solve the formula for r. Before we start, let's talk about why we want to do something like this. Because we could just put in 26 for the c and solve the equation that way. In science, it's really good that we know how to do this because we follow rules for how many decimal places to put on a number based on what math process we use to get that number. So in science, we always solve for the variable before we start plugging in the numbers. So this is how you do it. Now, I need to go ahead and solve for r. So I need r by itself. How can I get r by itself? Well, I need to move the 2 and the pi to the other side of the equation. What is 2 and pi doing to the r? Where they're being multiplied. So I need to divide them off to get rid of them. And that allows me to cross them out, and it leaves me with c over 2 pi equals r. Now I need to go ahead and substitute my 26 meters in for c. And it is best, especially in science, if I go ahead and write the unit for the number beside it. Okay, and then I need to solve that equation. That is about 4. So the radius of the circle is about 4 meters. And then remember, if I leave a blank blank, you can too also. Okay, checkpoint. Usually I make you do these by yourself, but you probably need more practice on this than just one example. So let's go ahead and do this together. Solve the temperature formula for C. Then convert the temperature of 85 degrees Fahrenheit into degrees Celsius. This is a very common science thing to do. So, I want to get C by itself. How can I do that? Well, let me go ahead and write my equation out. 9/5 C plus 32. And I need to get C by itself, so I'm going to go ahead and subtract 32 from both sides. And that'll leave me with F minus 32 equals 9/5 of C. Now I want to get C by itself, So I need to multiply by the reciprocal of 9/5, which is 5/9. And then I need to multiply this side. And not just my f, I need to multiply the whole side by 5/9. So I can put that in parentheses and put 5/9 out here. And I'm sorry that it did that. Sometimes this program makes little unwanted lines. And that marks out this, and it leaves me with C. You probably recognize this equation from years past, and probably teachers have told you to memorize both of these equations, this one up here and then this one that's changed. And I only tell you to go ahead and memorize one of them because you can always just solve for the other one. Alright, what if we have 3 variables? So solve the formula A equals L times W for L. So I need to get L by itself. What's W doing to L? It's multiplying, so I need to divide both sides by W. And that leaves me with A over W equals L. Now substitute the given value into the rewritten formula. So what was A up here? A was 187 feet squared. And W is 11 feet. So the length of the rectangle is 187 divided by 11, which is 17 feet. This is one of the reasons I put the units by it. Do you see that feet squared is really just feet times feet? And so I can mark out the feet in the feet just like it's a number. And I'm just set with my unit that I want. So in science, that's another good process skill to check your work by. Okay, on this checkpoint, I'm going to go ahead and let you do that. When you do number 2, you'll need to subtract off the 2L first before you divide for 2 to get W by itself. Okay, go ahead and pause the video, complete those 2, and we'll talk about them later. Okay, example 3. You'll probably find this more helpful for just yourself. Rewriting linear equations. This is in intercept form, but it's easier to graph if it's in slope intercept form. So it's nice to be able to solve back and forth and put the equations in different forms. So I want to solve for just y by itself. Let me go ahead and subtract off the 5x, so minus 5x here, and then I need to divide everything by -4. Okay, and this is very messy. So let me go ahead and get a blank side and write this out better. So 5x minus 4y equals 9. Okay, once more, I'm going to subtract off my 5x from both sides. That leaves me with -4y equals, And one of the reasons I moved over here to the blank side is that they wrote 9 minus 5x. For slope-intercept form, the x comes first. So I'm going to go ahead and put my negative 5x first. And then my constant, which you know is the y-intercept, last. And I'm going to divide by negative 4. And then go ahead and clean up all these signs. So on this side, it's just y. Negative divided by negative is a positive. So 5/4 x. And then a positive divided by a negative is a negative. 9/4. Okay, still not a fun thing to graph, but it's a little bit better than graphing with those intercepts. Now ask us to find y when x equals negative 3. So let me substitute negative 3 in here for the x. Remember, I'm going to put that in parentheses. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and multiply that out. So y equals negative 15/4 minus 9/4. And that will be negative 24/4, which I can simplify further and make it negative 6. Okay, example 4. Rewrite a nonlinear function. So it says to solve 8y plus xy equals 10 for y. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and rewrite it. Now I need to get my y by itself. And I need to get it by itself on one side of the equation. So most people get mixed up here because they try to subtract off the xy and put it on the other side of the equation. But that doesn't isolate the y by itself. So before we do that, let's go ahead and factor out the y. So I'm going to pull a y out of each term. And that leaves me with just the x, just the 8 here, and then plus x. I can check to see if I did that right by using the distributive factor and multiplying back, and I'll get exactly what I had. Now, what is the 8 plus x doing to the y? It's multiplying. So to move it to the other side of the equation, I need to divide by 8 plus x. Okay, that'll mark this out as a 1 and leave me with just plain y on that side. So y equals 10 divided by 8 plus x. Now, it asks me to find y when x is negative 6. So I'm going to substitute negative 6 in here. So 10 over 8 plus, parentheses, a negative 6. And that is 10 over 2, which ends up being 5. Alright, so remember that little trick. If you have an same term in both, or the same variable in both terms and they're not like terms, you need to factor out that variable before you start. So go ahead and do the 2 checkpoints at the bottom.